Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one. Namo sadanto suchedoye olahudi sanmiao sanputoshe. Wu shang shen shen wei miao fa, bai qian wan jie nan zhao yu. Wo jin jian wen de shou chi, yuan jie ru lai zhen shi yi. The unsurpassed, deep, profound, subtle, wonderful Dharma in hundreds of thousands of millions of eons is difficult to encounter. Now that I've come to receive and hold it within my sight and hearing, I vow to fathom the thus come one's true and actual meaning. Venerable Master and Dharma friends, welcome to our Sutra lecture tonight. This is the first time I think that the balcony has had more people than the floor has. All right, please, if everybody... Namo Da Guang Fo Hua Yen Ji Hua Yen Hai Hui Po Pu Sa Namo Da Fang Guang Fo Hua Yen Ji Hua Yen Hai Hui Po Pu Sa Namo Da Fang Guang Fo Hua Yen Ji Hua Yen Hai Hui Po Pu Sa Namo Da Fang Guang Fo Hua Yen Ji Hua Yen Hai Hui Po Pu Sa Namo Da Fang Guang Fo Hua Yen Ji Hua Yen Hai Hui Po Pu Sa Namo Da Fang Guang Hua Yen Ji Hua Yen Hai Hui Po Pu Sa. Okay, please turn in your text to page 36 and 37. Okay, if you will start from, let's look at the English page, page 37. Start at the bottom, count up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We're starting on line 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yes, we're starting on line 9 in English, and on the Chinese we are line 4, 觉诸去生相续故. So it's line 4, the second character. Okay, we're going to take the whole chunk of what's remaining, go lines 1, 2, 3, 4, and then flip over and do line 5. Okay, could we put our palms together? I'll give you a line and you read it back. 觉诸去生相续故至生力一切热闹毕竟灭故知尽无生智地出生无二故知入道智地正觉一切横向故善知一切菩萨地次第相续成就乃至如来至成就地以信解智立智 I'm sorry, my mistake. Try again. 依信解智 One more time, try again. 以信解智立知 turn over 非以究竟智立知 Okay, there we go. Let's look at the English and we'll read it in unison. You read along with me. We're starting with since he has awakened to the continuity, and if you want to read she, that's up to you. Here we go. Ready? Since he has awakened to the continuity of all paths of rebirth, therefore he knows the truth of creation. Since all afflictions ultimately cease, therefore he knows the truth of the wisdom of the ending of no birth. Since non-duality arises, therefore he knows the truth of entry into the wisdom of the way. Since he has correctly awakened to the appearance of all activity, therefore he knows the truth of successive accomplishment of the bodhisattva's grounds, up to and including the truth of, turn over, accomplishment of the wisdom of a thus come one. He knows this through the power of wisdom from faith and understanding, and not through the power of ultimate wisdom. All right. Now, tell you the truth, this is tough. This is hard to understand. This is really hard to understand. This is really, really hard to understand. Why? Because it's describing the bodhisattva's success. This is end of the path. This is graduation and postdoc level of bodhisattva's wisdom. What we have is a reflection of what we had above. Above, if you look on page 36 and 37, we had what the bodhisattva is good at knowing, skillfully knows. And then at the second half, it says, because he skillfully knows that, therefore this stuff is happening. All right, so that's one thing. So we have a tie-in from above to below. But there's another movement going on in this text. And that movement is a progression from 1 to 10. 1 to 10. 1 represents basic, 10 represents the highest level. And it gets progressively more difficult. We have a perfect analogy. What's it like? It's like going to school. Okay, when you go to school, we've all done that. We started out in kindergarten. Some people started out in preschool. Started out in kindergarten. We went to elementary school. We went to, some people call it middle school. We call it junior high. Then you go to high school, and some people stop there. Other people go to university, then they go to graduate school. Some people go on to PhD. Some people go on to what's called postdoctoral training. Then some people, they just can't let it go. They go on to... Jerry, as you walk by, would you turn the light off on the last box? It's blinking. Yeah, right there. Just the up above on the edge, you see there? Okay, look up. There, thank you. That blinks and it catches my eye every time. Good, thank you. So, some people go on and become research fellows. They can't leave the institution. So, let's stop with college. Okay, let's say college level, 4 years of college. Someone who is about to graduate as a senior at the university knows much, much more than an elementary student. And an elementary student knows much, much more than somebody who is in preschool. Okay, so you understand that. We get that part. Here are 10 stages. What we have in the 5th ground, we're in the 5th ground, we've talked about it. The bodhisattva is a meditator. He's a very good meditator. She is an expert meditator. And with each level of knowledge that is being described, the bodhisattva's meditation skill gets deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. In very much the way that, let's take a look at mathematics. All right? If you begin with mathematics, you know, Sesame Street, you all watch Sesame Street, right? Here's this program is brought to you by number 3, you know, and we learn about number 3, and what is a 3, and we learn about, we sing a song about it, and we turn it on its side, and we double it, we triple it, and have fun with letter number 3. Never knowing that that same letter 3 is going to carry us all the way up to theoretical mathematics, right? Where 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 become something that can send a spacecraft out, circle the moon, and bring it back home safely. Same numbers. Same numbers. 0 to 9. 1 to 9 plus 0. Can, used well, used skillfully, can send this incredibly expensive piece of technology out millions of miles, circle around the moon, have it land, pick it up again, send it back home safely. Same numbers, but you use them differently. Okay, so the bodhisattva, when he begins or she begins, also learns 1, 2, 3 up to 0. And then they start to apply them. What we have in this section tonight is the applied mathematics sending spacecraft out to space. That's why I say it's difficult. This is hard stuff. This is the mathematics applied. It's not just the numbers. So some of us have never heard a sutra lecture before. We come in and I think I'll learn something about Buddhism. I've heard that it's okay. My kids come, they like it. My friends come, they like it. I'll go listen in and see what I can learn. Okay, and you come in and you're met with something like, since he has awakened to the continuity of all paths of rebirth, therefore he knows the truth of creation. You go, I don't get it. That's pretty profound. So don't be surprised if you don't get it right off. I will tell you, this is the reality of somebody who meditates a lot. Somebody who sits still and watches their mind. Now, as anyone knows who has tried it, that's not easy. That's really not easy to do, to sit still and watch your mind. Many of us, we sit still, our mind just goes crazy, right? Our mind is spinning, spinning, spinning. We never knew it till we sat still. Oh, you sit still and you discover your mind is just full of all kinds of stuff. Very hard to sit still. Contrary to what people would believe. You're just sitting there, bump on a log, get off your butt, go do something. you know. Not so easy to sit there like a bump on a log. So if you don't believe me, try it. Try it for 5 minutes. Try it for 10 minutes. If you can do it for 10, try it for 12. See if you can make it to 12 minutes, you know. It's hard. Oh, you start to vibrate thinking the things you have to do. You just can't sit still, you know. It's like, you gotta go. Your mind is full of things. Okay, everybody's mind is full of things. It's like any other of the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and body that we have. Because the bodhisattva has awakened the continuity of all paths of rebirth, because of that, therefore, he knows the truth of creation. Oh my goodness. What is the truth of creation? Well, in the tradition I came from, Christianity, if you want to know the truth of creation, you have to ask God. That means you know what God knows. Who knows about the truth of creation? God does. Scientists know about the truth of creation? Not really. They can move it around, but they don't know where it comes from. Scientists can weigh it, judge it, compare it, experiment with it, test it, name it, you know, play with it. But where does it come from? Why is a calcium atom different than a cesium atom? Why is oxygen different from hydrogen? Why? Questions of, and where does it come from? Sorry. You can conjecture, but you don't know. This bodhisattva skillfully knows. Where has he been? He's been in emptiness. He has been contemplating the silence before things occur. In his mind, in her stillness. And you can. All you have to do is sit still long enough. Pretty soon you notice that things rise and fall, but there's a time when they're not rising and falling. And that's the door that you go through to discover where things come from. Sounds strange? Well, maybe a little tempting? You can do it. You can sit still long enough to experience that. The Bodhisattva has done that a lot and discovers there's big spaces between things. Things are not all jumbled up. And there is space and silence between rising and falling. I was just at a conference when one of the monks who was speaking pointed to Ajahn Sumedho's teaching. Ajahn Sumedho has a constant teaching where he says, don't look at the people in the room, look at the spaces between them. And suddenly if you do that, you realize your vision shifts. Because why? We are only looking at people's faces we're looking at the expressions on their faces. We're looking at the emotions behind the expressions to see if they're angry with us, to see if they like us, to see if they got our joke, to see if they're paying attention, to see if they're still awake. You know, I'm looking at all of you. If you're not still awake, I have to play a song just trying to wake you up, you know. So we don't look at the space between, but if you do, suddenly shift. We realize that space has been there all along, but we never noticed it. Right? How interesting. Okay, the bodhisattva is shifting he's been doing that for a long time, noticing that there's things, and then there's things, and then, right? And he's getting better and better at that. Sarah? Artists, Sarah's comment, artists are taught to do that. If they were to draw these flowers, any flower, they don't draw the outline of the blossom, they outline the space between them. And you look at the picture, you go, you can draw. That's good. Yeah, it's true. Photographers sometimes will intentionally photograph what they call negative space, the stuff between. So, this bodhisattva has awakened to the continuity of all paths of rebirth, therefore he knows the truth of creation. Now, creation here, what does the Chinese say? 觉诸去生相续故知生地 knows the truth of sheng. Sheng is coming into being, birth, creation, production. How did he get there? It's because he knows the continuity of all paths of rebirth. Now, that sentence could be not only our lecture tonight, and we wouldn't finish. You'd have to get your flashlights out and go home late. There's so much here. Continuity of the paths of rebirth. What are we talking about? Let's apply it. Now, why would somebody commit suicide? And if this is a tender topic for you, please excuse me. Why would somebody commit suicide? Somebody would commit suicide because they say, I can't stand it. It's got to be better. Out of here. That is not understanding the continuity of the paths of rebirth. Which is what? You leave here, come back somewhere else. What's the continuity of the paths of rebirth? It doesn't stop. Life doesn't stop. We leave this form, we move house. Master Hua, who described this in amazing ways, would say, it's just like rooms in a hotel. We check out of one and check into another. He said it's like musical chairs. You walk around, you sit in this chair, you become a human. The music starts, you walk, music stops, you grab, you're now in the God's realm, the Deva's realm. Music starts, you stand up, you walk around, now you're in the animal's realm. And why don't we remember? How come we don't know? How come you have to take it from me or the sutra? Because, they say, the womb wipes out our memory. When we pass through our mother's womb on the way to rebirth, we forget. We forget what our name was, we forget what we look like, we forget what our relatives looked like or did, we forget our education, what we ate, what we owned, we forget. Because our body goes away. When our body goes away, our senses go away. When our senses go away, it's hard to plug into the memories. Okay, so he says, Master Hua would say, we have done this over and over and over and over. But we change the roles. We change the roles. Sometimes the mother was the daughter, but she had something more to learn, so she came back as the daughter next time. And she comes back as the mother this time, because now it's her turn to help the other one along. It's like, okay, you hear this idea, this theory, does that make sense to you? Is that like, anybody think that might be what's really going on? And I'm asking honestly, if you don't think this is true, what's going on, what else is going on? Give me a better one. Right? I was raised Christian, and my Christian friends say, I don't believe in rebirth. Reincarnation? Oh, that's some Asian idea. Oh, you don't believe in rebirth? That's correct. Well, where do you go after you die? I want to go to heaven with God. Uh-huh. You want to be reborn in heaven with God, huh? Yeah, you bet. That's not rebirth? Oh, no, not really, is it? And where do you not want to go? I don't want to go to hell. You don't want to go to hell? No. You want to be reborn in hell? No, you bet. I agree. You don't be reborn in hell. It's like, reborn. I see. So, don't believe in reincarnation. Okay. How come we don't know? How come we don't see it? Well, because they say that the womb, there's this forgetfulness that happens when we take a new body. Okay, that's true. It's a challenge. You have to somehow take it on faith that this is really going on. So by asking you what system is better, I'm actually asking because I wonder too, what did I think it was like before I started to hear these ideas? All right, I'll mention one. There is, in traditional Judaism, in the teachings of Judaism in the Bible, they don't teach about rebirth. There's a place called Sheol, Sheol, where it's kind of like purgatory. It's kind of, in Catholic teaching, it's kind of like the Yoming, the realms of darkness in Buddhist teaching, where if you've really been a bad person and you have no mitzvot, you've got no goodness as a human, you wind up in Sheol kind of waiting for things to work out so you can go off. But there's no promise of good afterlife. This is essentially it. And so you try your best in this life to grab for all the gusto you can. And many of my Jewish friends don't even think about it because there's no particular teaching about the afterlife, about goodness or reward. And so they go, it's just like, well, we're pretty much this world centered, they say. You come around again? No, this is your chance, they teach. So that makes for very warm communities in the Jewish world, that the family is warm and full of joy. But come around in the future, you got to be a Jubu, you got to be a Jewish Buddhist if you really want to. And a lot of friends are, because they were so unsatisfied with this notion that that's it. So they began to study Buddhism. So, interesting, huh? The continuity of rebirth, continuity of all paths of rebirth. In other words, if you are a dog and you do lots of dog-like things, you will probably, chances are, come back as a dog until your karma as a dog is over, and then you go somewhere else. You might fall, you might become a snake, you might become an insect, something with less consciousness. You might not. You might leave the dog's realm and ascend to something with more consciousness. By the way, folks are very much invited to use chairs if you would prefer. We have chairs for people who are not used to sitting on the floor, don't have a single thought about it not being appropriate. So chairs are just fine. And if you're used to it, and if you're sitting on the floor is going to interfere with your understanding of or your fun, enjoyment of the sutra, then grab a chair. All right. So, what do we think happens? Master Hua would say, what's it like? He would say, okay, do you believe that yesterday happened? Pretty much. What did you do yesterday? Well, I can remember I ate this, I went there, I said this, I got this. Well, what happened? Well, then I went to sleep. So yesterday is not here, right? Right, it's not here now. Do you believe there's going to be a tomorrow? Based on what's happened in the past? Pretty much, yeah. Pretty much think it's going to be tomorrow. The sun will probably rise on the eastern horizon tomorrow. Okay, he says, you believe you remember there was a yesterday, you believe there's going to be a tomorrow. Why do you doubt past lives and future lives? They're just the same. Okay. So that's what he would say. And what is that? That leaves you in the position to have to either accept it or reject it. Rarely in Buddhism is there anything that you have to take on faith. This is one of those things. You have to kind of believe it or it doesn't work for you. However, it's interesting to know that in the history of Judaism, there was a time when rebirth was very much a part of Christian doctrine, of Jewish doctrine. They say up until the Council of Nicaea, which was when? Who's got the dates? Anybody remember? What was it? Okay, somewhere in the 5th century, they had a council where all the learned doctors of the church met and officially removed rebirth from the body of teachings. Did you all know that? That was interesting. That was part of, if you were a Christian or a Jew, you believed it. That was, why? Because it was taught, but then it suddenly wasn't. Get rid of that. And there are reasons why. All right. So the idea is rebirth continues. We simply shift bodies. Based on what? Based on what we're doing right now. based on the people we're helping now and the people we're hurting now, essentially, and how kind-hearted we are. That's what determines what it's like for us next. Don't doubt that we will have a future life. What's it like? Depends on what we do right now. The people we scold, the people we cheat, the people we get angry at, we meet them again. We meet them again. The people we benefit, the people we help out, people we're kind to, we meet them again. So because of that, the bodhisattva says, I see it. This is how it works. Okay? He understands creation because he's watched the cycles come around again and again and again. Okay? For him, it's not theory, it's how it is. Right? Here's one of those truths, remember? Here's our primary truth. 100 times. Want to count? Here's 3, 4. At no time when I drop this will it go up. Guaranteed. Okay. Want to count? 5. And no. So 100 times out of 100, that'll drop. That's a law. We accept gravity because we observe it. We notice it. The bodhisattva looks at this situation of rebirth through hells, ghosts, animals, asuras, humans, devas, then sages, sound listeners, voice hearers, solitary Buddhas, bodhisattvas and Buddhas. He says, that's how it is. That's how it works. Just like that. That's how it works. It's truth, he says. Okay. Since all afflictions ultimately cease, therefore he knows the truth of the wisdom of the ending of no birth. What? Get that curveball there at the end? No birth ends. How does no birth end? Okay. What did I say? Tough. This is tough. This is really subtle. This is the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4 up to 0 applied at a very high level. What does it mean? The bodhisattva is a really good meditator here. The sutra is describing things from that point of view. Now, we are not at that point of view, but we can still meet it and go, oh, that's interesting. There's a roadmap being described for higher levels of meditation. Okay, I will give you a clue for reading of the Avatamsaka on your own. We're in the 10 grounds. We're in the 5th ground out of 10. This is way up in the bodhisattva's hierarchy of wisdom. All right. When you get 10s, it always shifts after number 6. From 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, among the various lists, even among the grounds and the practices and the transferences, from 1 to 5 up to the meditation one, you can pretty much trace it. Because why? It's still based in discrimination. It's still based in duality, giving, precepts, patience, vigor, samadhi. When it gets to 6, it goes every time. Okay, we're now in 5, from 5 to 6. What happens at 6 is the prajna stage, where you get emptiness and non-duality. Emptiness and form being the same. Okay, does that make sense to you? This is a secret. It's kind of a yardstick that you all can apply on yourself, on your own. What's the pattern? The paramitas, right? You all know the 6 perfections, the 10 perfections, the paramitas. They are the same way. So let's look at 6. This is the Avatamsaka is the bodhisattva path. The bodhisattva path is based on the perfections, the paramita. So take a look. These are things that a bodhisattva uses to help people wake up. Giving, generosity, precepts or character, patience, right? Vigor, also called strength. Those are a pair, patience and vigor. And then samadhi, which leads to prajna. Usually in the sutra, 1 to 5, pretty good. You can kind of go, yeah, I kind of had a sense of that. I experienced that myself when I was giving, when I was patient, when I was vigorous, When it gets to 6, oops, suddenly it leaves you behind. What's it like? Do you all know the Heart Sutra? Any read the Vajra, the Diamond Sutra? Right? The bodhisattva crosses every living being over, and there are no living beings that are crossed over. And you go, logically that's a contradiction. How can that be? Is the sutra lying? No, that's prajna. It's wisdom that goes beyond the mind and language. Okay? We're approaching that spot here. That's 6, and then there's 4 more to go, right? There's 7, 8, 9, 10 remaining, but it goes whoosh, whoosh. The plane has left the runway at that point. From 1 to 5, the plane is down the runway, still in contact with the ground. At point 6, it takes off, and suddenly, how can this heavy thing full of people and baggage and metal and fuel leave the ground? How is flight possible, right? Well, it is. It defies, right? Defying gravity. An airplane takes off. It didn't do that, it went up. How did it happen? That's the prajna stage, okay? So it happens in the sutras. I'm just saying. We've now got, here's a list of 10. Okay, we got to 7 now. Oops, all right. He's awakened. He knows that afflictions ultimately stop. And because of that, because he knows that afflictions, greed, anger, and delusion will stop. They will stop. Therefore, what? He knows the truth of the wisdom of the ending of wusham, no birth. How does no birth end? Does birth end? Is there no birth? What is no birth? How does no birth end? You go, whoa, this is way too much for my poor brain, right? Don't freak out. Don't quit. It is hard stuff. Before we get to prajna, this won't really make sense logically. So what do? You happily go, I'm glad to know that. I will park it on my bookshelf, and when I get to prajna, this will open for me. This is not for me the same way that advanced calculus is not for a 3rd grader who's learning 2 times 2 is 4, 4 times 4 is 16, right? A child who's learning his multiplication tables is not expected to do differential calculus. We who are still working with the precepts and working hard to learn how to be patient instead of angry, etc., this is not for us, but that's okay. We don't have to master it all at once before we can accept that it's good and true, right? Don't have to reject it because it's a higher level of knowledge for us. Okay? Everybody kind of follow where I'm going? It's easy to read this and go, boo, I can't understand that, therefore I don't understand anything. No, it's not for you. But it's the 6th step. Don't quit. There's 10. There is a system. And work on 1. If you like 7, go to 1. Work on 1. Do what we can. And know that in the future, if you learn your math, you can do calculus. You can send a spacecraft around the moon once you use it. Okay? So, got it. All right. So don't freak. Don't be upset if you don't get it. All right. And also don't check out. Some people just go blink, tilt, This is the bodhisattva state. Okay, here we go. Since non-duality arises, therefore he knows the truth of entry into the wisdom of the way. Now this is number 9. Since non-duality arises, the bodhisattva's mind is in a place where birth doesn't happen, death doesn't happen, and yet they're also there too. Okay? Emptiness and form are one. Not that they don't exist, but they're really one. Therefore, he knows the truth of how to realize the wisdom of the way. He knows how to become a Buddha. He knows how to become a Buddha. He chooses not to, but that's another story. Okay? So, profound stuff. We all kind of following along here? Acknowledging this is difficult and profound? Okay. One more here. Since he has correctly awakened to the appearance of all activity, Therefore, he knows the truth of successive accomplishment of the bodhisattva's grounds, up to and including the truth of the accomplishment of the wisdom of a thus come one. Okay? That's it. That's number 10. Because he awakens to the appearance of all activity. He sees everything that's possible to do, body, mouth, and mind. He knows it's all the same. It's all the same. He sees it. He knows where they come from, where they go. He knows that they don't really exist, but they're still propelled out there by karma. So, he knows how a bodhisattva could go from first ground to the 10th ground. Up to and including what? How to become a Buddha. The truth of the accomplishment of the wisdom of thus come one. He sees it now. The bodhisattva sees the whole path. All right. I was talking to a monk 2 days ago who very seriously came up to me and said, I've been doing lots of retreats. I've been doing lots of service. I have been sitting until, my meditation cushion is just about broken, You think it's okay to go to school? He said. And then he said, you think I could get a PhD? And it was a really good question. I could see for him, it was the next step. He had been sitting so many retreats, he said, which means basically meditating, that his question to me was, is my samadhi strong enough that I could go back to school and succeed without falling away from being a monk, without giving my robes up for my PhD? Interesting question, Now what? He didn't know what getting a PhD involves. He was asking, what does it mean? So I laid out for him. I said, well, usually you take classes, but the classes you take are not 100 level classes. They're 300 and 400 level classes, right? They're seminars. There's usually like 10 students with a professor, and you are reading at a high level. Then after a certain number of years of those classes, then you take your exams. You take your comprehensive exams. And if you pass those exams, then you write your dissertation. And the dissertation is like a book. You become the expert on that little tiny aspect of study. That's what a PhD is like. Classes, exams, dissertation. Then the scholars read your work. They say, okay, we certify that you know what we know. Go out in the world and you've joined our guild. You're a FUD, a piled higher and deeper, a PhD. So, and he was going, oh yeah, how long does that take? And I said, it took me 10 years. Usually you can do it in 7 if you're not trying to be a director of a monastery at the same time. So he said, wow, that's long. Oh, yeah. And I said, well, there's lots and lots of people who go ABD. What's that? All but dissertation. They take the classes, they take the exams, they don't get past that 3rd stage. Lots, like 40%. So a little more than half who start out actually get to the end. Many, many do all the work up to the writing of that thing and then... So he said, yeah. So what was I doing? I was laying out for him these successive steps involved in getting a PhD. So he could kind of see the whole landscape. He could get it in one look, right? And this bodhisattva understands everything that is done, the appearance of activity, and so he knows how the bodhisattva's grounds go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 to Buddhahood. That's what he knows. That's the 10th truth. He sees it. Okay, he gets it. Yeah, I see that. Boy, when I was like first ground of happiness, it was like, it seemed forever. It seemed impossible. It was all above me, all ahead of me, Now, he's in ground number 5, and he can see through his meditation how to get to the end, and he can do it. He's ready. So, interesting, huh? This is, the Avatamsaka has lots of structure inside that helps you understand It's not philosophy, it's doing. This sutra is about kind-hearted behavior, working to help people. And because you want to help people, you get better at your meditation. So stuff doesn't shake you up, doesn't stop you when you encounter stuff. That's what the meditation is for. Then the wisdom teaches you how to help. And the compassion gives you the motive, gives you the reason why. Okay, so yeah. Now the last two lines are summary. These are summaries. It's 以信解智立知，非以究竟之立知. He knows this through the power of wisdom from faith and understanding, and not through the power of ultimate wisdom. Ah, oh ho. What? Why is that different? What is the difference between the two kinds of knowledge? How does he know this? He knows it through hard work, not from his own nature yet. This is very interesting. Look at that. You know what that says? That says that there's a difference in knowledge. Up to a certain point, the things you know, you get from your diligent application. But there is a point where the things you know flow forth from your own internal wisdom. And I'll tell you where that is. It's between the ground number 7, ground number 8. We're not there yet. We're still in 5. But I talk about this a lot, and it's one of my favorite parts of the 10 Grounds chapter, and if anybody wants to read ahead, I encourage you to do it. You have to go get a copy of our text. We don't have, this is our new in-progress translation. But if you look at actually we have not translated that part of the 10 Grounds. We haven't published it yet. So you have to get it from Cleary or read the Chinese. What happens, the bodhisattva gets to this place where there's a gate. They call it a fork in the road. Now, I've told you this a lot, so I'll just briefly say. There's a fork in the road in the path. This is fascinating stuff. It says, as you cultivate along, you get to this fork in the road. And there's a test, and it's a test of your patience. Because your meditation has been deeper and deeper and deeper, I went by it quickly, right? I understand Jin Fan Sure spent the whole lecture on one of these knowledges. Okay, that's easy to understand. I went quickly through it because why? It's hard to understand. And I want to move us along. But what has happened from 4, 5, 6, and 7 is the bodhisattva is watching things break up that were formerly solid. Okay? See this wonderful pumpkin over here? This jack-o'-lantern with Master Empty Cloud's face carved on it, right? Before the knife went on that, it was a pumpkin. Okay? If we worked on it further, we could serve it to you in a pie, right? Or a pumpkin spice latte if you go to Starbucks. So things change shape. Still a pumpkin, changes shape. Look at this one over here, Guanyin Bodhisattva, right? Things change shape. What is the real pumpkin? Show me the essence of pumpkin, right? Well, it kind of looks orange and round and kind of, is that one? Yeah, but that's a monk carved on it, you know. Things change shape. Bodhisattva has been watching things change shape. And he knows that ultimately there's nothing to get. There is no ultimate pumpkin essence. It's just conditions coming together. So, here we are back to our story. The bodhisattva at a certain point of his meditation sees that all things are neither created nor destroyed. And they say, the sutra describes it, it says, when you sit there in your meditation, you see that everything that you thought was real, including your whole life, is not real at all, and yet here it is. And you see it, that's your reality. It's very easy to go crazy. The mind does not absorb that very well. And so there's this fork in the road I mentioned, right? And they say one fork leads to this state called dull emptiness. A state where you really can't take it and you kind of go blank. You kind of check out and no further progress. And it's not a bad state. I mean, you're already beyond birth and death. But there's no further progress. They say that bodhisattvas, Buddhas come to the cultivator who's at that point, and there aren't very many who get to this point. The Buddhas come to the cultivator and say, "Venerable sir, venerable madam, don't forget your vows. Living beings are still suffering like crazy. Continue. Don't think this state is an ultimate state. It's not. It's just the next step. Take another step." They come along and they cheer for the cultivator, for the meditator. They like, rah, 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 zis, boom, bah. Meditate, meditate. Go, go, go. 加油, 加油. 不要往后退. Okay, that's what they say, more or less. And if the meditator does what they are urging him or her to do, they wake up. They pass what is called patience when dharmas no longer arise. Wu sheng fa ren. This is Avatamsaka in Sanskrit. It's a very difficult gate to get through. It's really hard to get through this gate because it's scary when everything breaks up, and yet it's still there, but it breaks up and it's, So, they give an analogy right there in the 7th and 8th ground, and I've told you this before, it's a wonderful analogy. They say, and this is where we go, right? What you know through the power of wisdom from faith and understanding, that's up to that point. You learned it through hard work. They say, up to that point, it's like carrying a sailboat on your back. You're carrying a sailboat on your back through the woods. It catches on stuff, it's heavy, you trip over the logs, you stub your toe, you sweat a whole lot. When you get to this point, you flip the sailboat over, put it down on the lake, raise the sail, get on board, and what's it like? Whew. Across the lake you go, effortlessly. That's from when you get through the gate. Everything is different from that point on. That is called non-retreat. Avatamsaka, the place of no further retreat. Up until that time, it's easy to take one step forward, 2 steps back, 1 step forward, 2 steps back, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. That's knowledge through the power of wisdom from faith and understanding. You're still working hard to get it down. But once you get to that ground, you have knowledge through the power of ultimate wisdom. It's across the lake. You are through the gate of non-retreat, and you're on the way to Buddhahood at that point. So, I went through this whole description to explain these 2 lines. What's the difference between knowing through the power of wisdom of faith and understanding and knowing through the power of ultimate wisdom? It's right here. Okay, that's the difference. All right. How are we doing? You doing okay so far? What's that? No birth is bugging you. Well, what's the alternative? Yep. It's got a flavor. That's right. That's right. There's a flavor. Sarah is working with the numbers 6 to 7, right where those changes happen. And I went over it once over lightly. Why? Because it's hard to understand. It's harder to explain. Even when it's explained well, you can kind of get it, but it's not your state. It's not my state. I don't have to only explain my state, but I can point to where it goes beyond my state and say, why? I am on your side as a reader of this text. We're reading this text. If you don't get this, don't feel bad. And don't reject the sutra. Don't reject your own knowledge. Don't reject the sutra. Say, this stuff is nonsense. I don't get this. Okay? You won't get it until your wisdom is there. That's fine. Know where you are and make efforts. Apply yourself with diligence. Okay? So, what is no birth? Come on. Who's going to explain no birth to somebody who can't even sit still for 10 minutes? No way. Even if you have like a fierce intellectual understanding of it, so you can throw the words around, this is a real state. This is the bodhisattva state. That's like a third grader shaking his fist at a theoretical mathematician and saying, I don't understand what you're talking about. Of course you don't. You are still working with the multiplication and division, long division. Don't worry. You'll get there if you apply yourself with diligence. All right. Now, we're going to go on to the next paragraph where suddenly it warms up a lot. Ready? Page 38, 39. Here we go. Ready? 佛子慈菩萨摩诃萨得如是诸地智已，如实知一切有为法虚妄假伪，狂惑愚腐，菩萨而是于诸众生转增大悲，盛大慈光明。Disciples of the Buddha, once this bodhisattva, Mahasattva, has obtained the wisdom of such truths, he knows all conditioned dharmas as they truly are, false, empty, and contrived, and that they deceive foolish common people. The bodhisattva at that time towards all living beings increases in great compassion and brings forth the light of great kindness. Now, first thing I'm going to do is change foolish common people into something a little kinder. Foolish common people sounds like a slam, doesn't it? Okay. Common sounds like a socio-economic. Sounds like a Marxist critique. Okay, ordinary or normal would be okay also. Average, ordinary, normal, average. What it means? People who don't cultivate the Dharma. Okay, foolish. Well, yeah. Foolish meaning people who know that they shouldn't walk over the lake on thin ice and do it anyway and fall in. People who know they shouldn't play on the freeway and still do it. Right? That's foolish people. People who know that they're going to burn their hand if they put it in the flame and they do it again. That's foolish people. So, 佛子慈菩萨摩诃萨得如是智地智义. Once this bodhisattva knows all these 10 kinds of wisdom of truth, true truth wisdom, things like gravity, right? That he sees are true because he sees them now through his meditation. 如是知, he knows as they really are. What? 一切有为法虚妄. Let's stop right there. All conditioned dharmas, he knows them as they really are. What's a conditioned dharma? If we don't know that, this won't make sense. What is a conditioned dharma? Let's pick something that we're really close to. How about food? Okay, we have some of our number one cooks in the house tonight, right here. People who know how to cook food and make it delicious. Food that we like. Food that makes people happy, right? What is it? It's called food. Oh, if Berkeley Buddhist Monastery was a restaurant, we would be rolling in the dough. Why? Because the food that is fed here on Saturdays is wonderful food. So good. You can't find vegetarian pho other places, right? Not like ours. So today we had incredible birthday cake. Ooh, that was good birthday. Vegan as well. Really good. Oh, the variety of food on the counter today was just outstanding, you know. I go around the Buddhist world, it's hard to find food like we had here in this building today because of the hard work of people. But you know what? If you were to bring that food up right now, you sure wouldn't want it. not to make you all ill at ease. But what's the difference between food there on the counter and food where it is right now, like 6-7 hours later? A lot is different. Why is it different? It's called conditioned dharmas. Things that come together because of conditions. Things that come together because of other things. A carrot becomes a carrot because of the seed, because of the earth, because of the sun, because of the water, because of the care of the gardener. Then, when it comes out of the ground, you still can't eat it. First you have to wash it, sometimes you peel it, sometimes you steam it, slice it, dice it, put it in the salad, put it in a blender, carrot juice, whatever, right? You understand. Lots of conditions. Food is an obvious one, but everything is a conditioned dharma. Everything, everything. This is a tree. I'd like you to meet a tree. Doesn't look like a tree, does it? Sure is. It's a tree. This is only wood, right? It's only wood. Here's a tree. It's a particularly heavy one. This is ebony. So, conditioned dharma. Put it in the fire, you'll see the tree nature come out. It goes to ash really quick. Conditioned dharmas. What about this one? The scariest one is this one. Well, no, it's not the scariest. The scariest one is the earth. When you see the conditionedness of the earth made up of other stuff, I saw a picture, a projection by, was it NASA or was it NOAA, the extreme weather predictions. It was a prediction of the melting when the ice caps are completely melted. When the North Pole and the South Pole have gone back to water, which they're doing very quickly, how the coastline of America will change. It's very scientific measurement of when that much ice is released into water, how the map will change. And I want to tell you, we're underwater right here. Only the tips of the Berkeley Hills are still solid. Everything on the flats up to the last couple feet of the Berkeley Hills is coastline. And boy, oh boy, New York is gone, Florida's gone, Miami, forget Miami. Miami's among the first to go. If you live in Miami, you have relatives in Miami, ask them to move to higher ground. Yeah, boy. So it was really scary. Like there's big chunks of both coasts gone underwater. So conditioned dharmas. True. And that, will it be our lifetime? At the end of our lifetime, but our kids? Boy, oh boy. So, conditioned dharmas. He looks at conditioned dharmas and sees what they are. False, empty, and contrived. Well, yeah. Just to say, not what you think. Not what they appear to be. There's more going on than the surface. More going on than meets the eye. Okay? The eye, looks like a beautiful dish of noodles. But in fact, it's wheat turned into noodles. The wheat was a seed. The seed came out of another wheat plant. So then it got ground and milled and made into noodles and boiled and steamed and served, and now we eat it and it comes out the other end. Conditioned dharma. So all things are like that. Our bodies change, the earth changes, everything changes. They're not what they look like, he says, and if you don't have that insight, we will be fooled. They will deceive us into thinking this is really what's going on. And that's okay. Most of us are that way. But what happens when we cling to it and it changes, it hurts. Just look at your face in the mirror, right? Is it the way you want it? If it were, there would be no cosmetic companies, right? It's because we look in the mirror and go, that's not what I think. I look at my wrinkles and I think, what's going on in my face? Maybe I should get clothespins and pull it back. Oh, sure, you kind of lost a little weight there. So, yeah, it's changing all the time. And we want it to be other than it is, mostly. So we buy all kinds of products to make it look other than it is. It's futile because it's going to be the way it is. He sees it changing. And the bodhisattva looks at living beings and his great compassion grows. He says, boy, it hurts, doesn't it? What we do to make it other than it is, that hurts. So he feels for us. He says, can we be content with the way it is? Is that possible? He brings forth the light of great kindness. He says, wow, we're all in this together, and it hurts a lot to watch it change. What about if it's not me? I'm fine, but I see my family. I see my mother age. I see my kids get upset with their weight. Boy, people who go through bulimia, who have food issues, that's so painful to watch, because they really, really believe that they shouldn't eat so they can be the way they want to be. Starve themselves into illness. For a while, maybe they don't understand, but they sure do it. That's painful. And we see that happen, we go, oh no. The Bodhisattva sees all of us doing that and goes, oh no. The light of kindness comes out. I've got to help wake them up. Got to help wake them up. So what happens? Meditation, he starts, I don't think I'll meditate. I think I'll get out of my meditation and go help. I'll go get my PhD. Stop doing so many retreats. Or do less retreats in between my studies. Add some studies to the retreats. So you don't really stop meditating. You balance it out. Difficult, huh? All right. So I wanted to share with you something that came out this weekend with the help of my friend Robert, who informed me, actually, I'm not Robert, I'm Roberta. I'm a hen. Get it? Yeah. Okay, Roberta. All right. Thanks. Okay, Roberta. You have very nice tail feathers. Thanks. Roberta. Yeah, I knew. So, just pretty. Okay. So, what did you do down in L.A.? Well, I sang a new song. You did, huh? Yeah, you want to hear it? Well, do we have a choice? No, I'm going to sing it anyway. Okay, well, go ahead then. What's the name of it? It's called Four Elements. Do I get to sing? Yeah, you just the way we rehearsed it. You can't fool them. Okay, I understand. Here we go. Ready? Earth, water, fire, and air. The same in everybody, everywhere. Everybody's a pun, you get it? Okay. What's true for me and you must be true for every animal too. Everybody sing along. No, it's too early. You didn't teach it. Well, I learned it. I'm a chicken. Okay, well, they can learn it. Okay, good. Now here's a chicken, there's a kangaroo, there's a dog, there's a cockatoo. Although they all look different, inside they're just the same as me and you. Okay, ready? Want to sing along? Earth, water, fire, and air. The same in everybody, everywhere. What's true for me and you must be true for every animal too, including chickens. Okay, ready? Earth, air, fire, and water. Earth, water, fire, and air. Ready? Earth, water, fire, and air. The same in everybody, everywhere. The same in everybody, everywhere. What's true for me and you? What's true for me and you must be true for every animal too. Must be true for every animal too. They really sing well. Yeah, well, you're a good teacher. Okay, maybe you can help lead them. Here we go. Ready? Okay, follow me. All right, here we go.
earth, water, fire, and air, the same in everybody, everywhere. What's true for me and you, this line changes, we'll tell them, is true for all your ancestors too. I think I surprised them. Yeah, a little quick there. Okay, try again. Here we go. Now, you have a verse. You sing. Okay, here we go. Great compassion says we're all the same in body, just different names. But when you ask what there is inside, then you've got to theologize. You can't write a song with theologize in it. That's too deep. No, this is a profound group. Well, okay, but that's too long a word. Okay, don't worry. I think they can get it. You know, they're smarter than chickens. Hey, I'll peck you. No, you won't peck. You're the light of great kindness. Remember, don't forget. Okay, all right, here we go. Ready? Chorus, here we go. Earth, water, fire, and air, the same in everybody, everywhere. What's true for me and you is true for all of your ancestors too. Okay, that's good. Now, do you have one more verse? Sure. Here we go. Call it Buddha nature, call it soul. Everybody's got it, not half, but whole. Wake up to this and celebrate. That's what we call enlightenment. No, I won't accept that. Enlightenment, you can't twist the rhymes. Well, come on. This is the hip-hop generation. Okay, all right. So, no, it's what you call enlightenment. Okay, all right. Here we go. Earth, water, fire, and air, the same in everybody, everywhere. What's true for me and you is true for all Buddha's disciples too, and Christians. Okay, thank you, Robert. That's good. Roberta, I forgot. So Roberta sang at Vegasource, and I wish I could say everybody sang along, but not quite. But we're getting there. Okay, he was a Cajun chicken down there. He came, "Allons mes amis, laisse les bon temps rouler." So, now, one of the things that I did, my talk at vegsource.com Healthy Lifestyle Expo in LA on Sunday, was echo John Robbins. John Robbins, in his Diet for New America, really moved me back then, and still does every time I see it. It's in the movie, and he quotes Chief Seattle. And I looked it up, and Chief Seattle's speech, Chief Seattle was a real Native American chief, and where Seattle, Washington is named for him. And he was in the Northwest. And it's said that he made a famous speech at one point, but he spoke it in a Native American language that was translated into another language that then was translated into English. And in that process, probably what survived of what he really said was not very much. So a lot of people kind of rewrote Chief Seattle's speech. It's not necessarily the case that these are the words he said. But John Robbins, in his Diet for New America movie, says, Chief Seattle, 100 years ago, chief of a Northwest Indian tribe, when his people had to leave their lands and go to a reservation, how sad it was, because the white people moved across the continent and moved them out, and they couldn't go any further once they reached the Pacific Northwest. It was a very poignant and pathetic time. He made a speech, and he said something remarkable that has always lived in me, said John Robbins. He said, "All right, I'll go. We'll go." They had tried everything else. They had fought. It was either fight or die. He said, "We'll go, but I ask one thing in return from the great Father in Washington." That's how he put it. So what do you think he asked for? I put myself in his shoes, and I think that if it had been me, I might have asked for more horses or more blankets, shoes for the journey, food. But Chief Seattle asked for something very different. He said, the one thing that we ask is that the white men of this land treat the animals as their brothers, as part of their family, he said. John Robbins goes, now why did he ask that? I think I know. I think he looked at the white people and saw our profound separation, our alienation from life. I think he saw how disassociated we have become. He saw the war taking place in our lives against nature, a war against the environment, a war against our own people, a war against ourselves, endlessly, repetitively, dangerously, disastrously, and he wanted to heal us. For Chief Seattle, life itself was sacred. The sound of the birds singing in the trees was like a choir. Forests were the cathedrals. Breathing was an act of prayer. We are so interconnected that what we do to the animals and to the other life forms becomes our fate. So that was John Robbins' line from the film, and I thought, now that's profoundly insightful. That's deep wisdom, and I would say it's Buddhist wisdom, but it's not only Buddhist wisdom. And for John Robbins, it was Buddhist wisdom. He is a closet Buddhist. So I was moved to write a song about that. And those of us who were at the Oregon retreat at Turtle Mountain, Buddha Root Farm, heard Master Hua's story. We shared Master Hua's story about the turtle on Turtle Mountain. There's a real turtle there. He's the turtle, Turtle Mountain, of Turtle Island. The Native American name for America, before the white people called it after an Italian explorer named Amerigo Vespucci, right? They called it Turtle Mountain, Turtle Island, Turtle Island. And Turtle Island has nearly been ruined. If you drive to Turtle Mountain, you see the clear-cut forests. They hide them. They're on the lee side of the hill away from the freeways. If you see them from a plane, it's really, really shocking to see a living, breathing organism full of life that has been scalped. So nothing lives there. And mind you, a few scrubby trees come back after 20 years. It's not the same. And the fish are pretty much gone. Fishing has collapsed on all the coasts. Salmon used to run right up. Salmon do this amazing thing where they return to the tiny stream where they began. And they go down to the Columbia, the big rivers, and they go across the Pacific to spawn, to their breeding grounds. And they come back to that little creek and return without mistake. They're back every year. And then they die. So how amazing, right? So that's Turtle Island. And given John Robbins' story about Chief Seattle, I wrote the Turtle Island Lullaby. Turtle Island Lullaby. And it's not a happy song, because there is very much a sense in this that people are not doing very well, right? And we, as a species, may just happily go away, unhappily go away. Turtle Island itself, the continent, will survive, but the humans may not make it. We are one antibiotic-resistant pathogen away from major epidemic, or hunger, or thirst away, or a civil war, who knows. So, Turtle Island Lullaby. I didn't sing it. I didn't sing it from the stage. I sang it to some of the other songwriters and musicians there. But I thought, my job, people like what I do at VegSource because I'm positive. You know, I'm cheerful and positive. For me to go along and talk about, now your species time is done, is kind of like, oh. So, Turtle Island Lullaby. You get to hear it for the first time. My tall fir trees touch the sky, where the eagles raise their young. Timber wolves would serenade. It's a lullaby. When sundown song was sung, salmon swam home to their stream. Every year you'll find them there. Redwoods like cathedrals, where every breath was like a prayer. Turtle Island Lullaby. At the end of day, to ease us into twilight and send us on our way. We are all related on this brave spaceship we share. Have we learned any lessons? Small blue planet in the air. You wasted all my topsoil. You fished my waters dry. You clear-cut my green trees. I can't breathe and I can't cry. So what about your children? Generations yet to come. Turtle Island will continue. Your species time has come. Turtle Island Lullaby, song for the end of day, to ease us into twilight and see you on your way. Every species is related on this brave spaceship we share. Have you learned any lessons? Small blue planet in the air. Good night to the salmon. Good night to the sea. Good night to the wolves and turtles. May your spirits all be free. People burdened with desire, humans at war with their land, broken from their families, with nowhere left to stand.
we lock ourselves in prison. It's called security. What we do to our neighbors becomes our destiny. Turtle Island lullaby. At the end of day, to ease us into twilight and send the humans on their way. We are all related on this brave spaceship we share. Have we learned any lesson? Small blue planet in the air. Anyway, good thing I didn't sing it, huh? All right. You should hear the verses I didn't include. Oh, wow. You lived without a conscience, one species over all. You swallowed all the others. It's your turn to fall. Oh, man. No. Pass on that one. Dharma Master, what? You're too attached. You're just too attached. Okay. So we need to dedicate the merit first, and then, judging by what happened in the back of the room, there's something going on here. You don't know what it is, do you, Mr. Jones? What's going on here? Okay, dedication of merit. We have some photographs that I want to share, but there's obviously, we need to give some time to what's the excitement that's going on in the back of the room. So we'll see if we can't get the photos in there too at some point. Stories from the North American Monastic Sangha Conference. So, okay, here we go. Dedication of merit. You got to make a wish. You got to put your palms together, put your hearts together, send out that goodness through the air, from heart to heart, and then wonderful things can happen. Here we go. Every living being, our minds as one and radiant with light, share the fruits of peace with hearts of goodness, luminous and bright. If people hear and see, our hands and hearts can find the lay their minds away to great compassion, wisdom, and to joy. May kindness find reward. May all who sorrow leave their grief and grief. May this boundless light break the darkness of their endless night. Because our hearts are one, this world of pain turns into paradise. May all become compassionate and wise. May all become compassionate and wise.
And with that, I will yield the stage to trick-or-treaters. And have a song. All right. Well, yep. Potentially. In theory, you can. Whether or not it happens, we'll see. Was Locke involved in this one? Probably not. This first time. Boy, evolution. Okay. Give it. Where is it?
It's in my email.
Okay, email it to me. Can you email it to Berkeley Monk?
Okay, berkeleymonk@gmail.
Whoa!
It should be set.
Did it go?
Alan? Julia's getting the microphone. Julia gets the microphone. One sec.
You want to pass here, from here.
Oh no, I'll go up there because
It's slowly. Don't go away. It's. I'm not getting my.
We're not seeing.
Not picking it up.
If you messed up, it's you.
Retrograde Mercury. Okay.
Don't mess up, man. Yeah, Max.
We can turn the projector on in the meantime. Is everybody getting nervous out there? Okay. Not working. Okay. Now, the other thing we can do is reboot. Want to try it? It's going to take a while.
Bad idea. Can we do that? No. I think I gotta go this way.
Yes. Okay, there we go.
Try it, Max. It's the best we can do.
Almost, we're getting there. Just everybody should be. I just want you all to sing some other song. I'm really lucky to study Buddhism.
Does Julia need to stand over there? She said, do you guys want to do a practice? Yeah, that's just great.
Maybe somebody else's laptop, other laptop here that's got a better connection. Yours didn't pick up. Is somebody else online? Dashing has a iPad. Well, it's not coming. What's plan B?
Just say
you guys all have it?
Wing it. Okay, so we are
Password?
going to sing. Okay. Everyone's like, yes!
Hang in there. Just a second. Okay, now, see, patience is rewarded. Here it comes. Okay. Isn't this exciting? Thank you, technology.
Everyone knows my email now. It says J Takad.
Okay, just a minute.
Just the Word document, not the YouTube.
Wait. Okay, there we are. See? Worth it. Now, I will be your internet slave and scroll for you.
So we are going to skip the third and the seventh. So the third and the last paragraph.
Y'all clear on that much? We're going to skip. Okay. Cut this out. Dump it. Delete it. Bye. Which one? This one. Okay. You want it bigger? That's good. Big enough. Okay.
So this song is from the movie Pitch Perfect, and so the four people you see in front, they're going to actually do, I don't know what to call it, percussion. Okay. We're going to do this a cappella.
Give everybody a pitch.
Got my ticket for the long way round, 6 parameters for the way, and I sure would like some sweet company, and I'm lecturing tonight, what do you say? When I bow, clearing my mind as I bow, with deep gratitude in my heart, one heart bowing to the city of the many stories I can tell. I've got my ticket for the long way round, the one with the prettiest of views. It's got Buddhas, it's got sutras, it's got dharmas to cross you over. May wisdom and compassion be with you. When I bow, clearing my mind as I bow, with deep gratitude in my heart, one heart bowing to the city of the many stories I can tell. When I bow, clearing my mind as I bow, with deep gratitude in my heart, one heart bowing to the city of the many stories I can tell.
Yay! Great. That was really great. Nice. Okay, that was the trick. You all have to treat now. What do you mean, no candy? Uh-oh, trouble's ahead. Oh, boy. That was so nice. Encore. Sing the one from last year. Oh, we forgot, Dharma Master. Okay. It's a group effort. Nice. Yeah, that's great. Yay. That's really fun. Yeah. Well, this is kind of like an anticlimax after that. See? I feel like we owe them something. Like, usually, if they trick, we have to treat. That's the whole idea of trick or treat. And if you don't, oh boy, then comes the glue on the door handle and stuff like that. But notice there's an extra special Sangha member here, sitting there. So, what's this about? I counted up at lunch today, and since I have been to 10 major trips since June, and there's one more to go, which is Taiwan, but the last one was this week, and it was in Sacramento, and Jin He Shi, Jin Chuan Shi were there with me, and it was at City of the Dharma Realm, and it was the North American Monastic Sangha Conference that happens every year. And that's the story right there, the colors of the robes, right? Look at all the yanas there. Among the, how many, 42 was it total? Among the 42 participants, there were 532 precept years. People who have held the precepts a total of 532 years. So that's a lot, for the beginning. This is the history of this Buddhist Sangha in America. And there are people who say that the future of the Sangha in America is lay Dharma teachers who teach mindfulness. And that's the real future. And they completely look down on the Sangha, that the Sangha is a bunch of weird people who shave their heads and put on funny clothes and live by these strange rules that nobody likes for no reason. That's pretty much what the attitude is out there from the lay Dharma teachers. So, the Sangha is here to stay, as it always has been, and there's a lot of value in keeping this group of people alive in the world. So I wanted to show you some of the faces. A lot of these pictures are taken by Jin He Shi, by our very own Jin He. And these monastics, some of them you'll recognize, some you have never seen before, but this is kind of a unique opportunity for all of you to see people who, look at this photo, nobody really got into that room if you weren't a left-home person, celibate monastic. But look at all these faces, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Here's one layman from CDR who was there. Men and women, red robes, brown robes, orange robes, saffron robes, yellow robes. Latte with an extra shot robes with soy. Look at the smiles here. We went into Sacramento. The CDR, City of the Dharma Realm, is in West Sacramento. So we went into Sacramento on Thursday for the Buddhist Global Relief Walk to Feed the Hungry. Theravada bhikkhunis and bhikkhus chanting the lunch blessing. Recognize these faces? This is Ananda Bodhi, who's here once a month. This is her Dharma friend, Venerable Santacitta. And here is Venerable Santusika, Ajahn Guna's mother. Recognize her? These are the Tibetans doing their chanting for the lunch blessing. These are the Chinese Mahayana doing their lunch blessing. So here is a bhikshuni getting a ticket from a mounted policeman. She was walking too slowly, right? No, I'm kidding about that part. Walk to Feed the Hungry. We had about 80 plus people. We raised $3,300 to feed the hungry. Oh, Restored Bodhisattva made an appearance. People laughed. The old monk made an appearance. He answered a lot of questions. Wanda. This is my first visit to the grounds of the state capitol. I'd never been there before, Sacramento, all these years. And the park around the state capitol is very wonderful. It's a great place. They spend enough money to keep it looking really good. And it looks like a state capitol should, you know. Peaceful. What's that? City of the Dharma realm? Three blocks away from there is very different. There's a lot of poverty 3 blocks away. This is the Soto Zen chanting at lunch. Okay, we're just going to go quickly through to... These are all the nuns, all the bhikkhunis and lay women. How many walks were there across the country this year? First year there was 1, second year there were 3, last year there were 5 or 6, this year there's more. First time in Sacramento. A trio. Brand new song. Students at the school. There is a branch of Instilling Goodness and Cultivating Virtue School at Sacramento. Apparently the schoolgirls impressed the monks and nuns. They really thought they were bright and polite and 很懂事情. One nun from Korea. We had a picnic in the park, packed by CDR. CDR took very good care of all the monastics. Everyone was very touched by the kindness and the generosity of the bhikshunis at City of the Dharma Realm and the lay staff. Many lay people went up 3 days earlier from Berkeley, from CTTB, to get the rooms ready and to make everything perfect. Here are the monks. -2. So these are historic photos, and years from now, people will look back and say, "Wow, that was how it got started, huh? Those are the beginning. That was how it began. I thought you guys were all fighting with each other, just like the Lutherans and the Catholics. And in fact, we're getting along." Some of us are sneezing when the photo is taken. Okay, I think that's... Oh, a few more. In front of the state capitol. Look at the building here. There we go. So that, let's see, do we have any more? A few more, just a very few. There are beautiful rose gardens up there, over there. That's a nice photo. That's it. Okay, well, thank you for being patient. That's a lot of pictures. All right. Does that say off? Are you working? No, maybe not. So, let's do our announcements and let people know what's coming up. The Guanyin session has now concluded, and as of today, and tomorrow at CTTB, Alan, you want to run the screen up? There will be a, we need to figure that out, why that's not working. Maybe the battery is changing. Tomorrow at CTTB, oh, you hit it, okay. There is an event at 3:30 announcing, talking about Buddhist Text Translation Society, BTTS, where we have come to this point, and a lot of work has gone into putting it online for the web. So those of you who, some of our staff here will be running up to make that happen. If you would like to get the latest about Buddhist Text Translation Society, please tune in to Dharma Realm Live. Okay, Dharma Realm Live on YouTube. Our YouTube channel, Dharma Realm Live, and you'll see some of us talking to you from City of 10,000 Buddhas. That's a big deal to get a webcast out of the Buddha Hall there. And we'll be talking about Shifu's work of bringing the Buddha's voice to us. So that's going to happen tomorrow at 3:30. Yes, Veda. 3:15, correct that. So check in at 3 to make sure it's hot, and you'll find out about BTTS and how you can participate. This coming week should be a normal week. Lots of activities, classes, anything else? What else is going on? Yes, Angela. Tiance this week, Tuesday, 7:30 p.m. Roundtable, Thursday, 7:30 p.m. Okay, yes, Sandy. Okay. November 3rd, next Thursday, is next Sunday, is the autumn end of daylight savings. Spring ahead, fall behind. So we we lose an hour. And we'll recite the Buddha's name on Sunday. Okay, more announcements? If not, as Shifu would say, 师道之进，非道之退，在善而从，不善而改. Happy Halloween, everybody. That's not the actual translation of what I said, but you get the point. All right. We bow to the Buddha. Stand up slowly if your legs are asleep. Bow in respect to the Venerable Master. Namo Da Fang Guang Fu Hua Yin Ji Hua